Few Star Wars civilizations are as well known as the Mandalorians. Their badass armored warriors have been a subject of fascination ever since the first appearance of Boba Fett, and over the decades, Star Wars stories have delved heavily into their culture and history. If you're even vaguely familiar with Mandalorian culture, you're almost definitely aware that their society was based around clans, great families of warriors with legacies often stretching back thousands of years. But not many fans are as familiar with what the Mandalorian clans were actually like. What were the major clans? What made them unique from other bands of Mandalorians? Which of them was the greatest? In this video, we'll be answering all of these questions.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Quick disclaimer, we'd like to emphasize that, as usual, we're talking about legends in this video. There are other clans in canon, but the canon Mandalorian society is significantly different from the Legends one, so that's material for another video. The very first Mandalorian clans actually predated the Mandalorians themselves. The practice dates back to a time when a species of nomadic raiders, called the Tongs, roamed the Outer Rim, astray after losing their homeworld to humans tens of thousands of years prior. Tong society was based around these clans which roamed around on their own, merging or diverging from the group at will. For millennia, the clans were disparate and disorganized, but this changed in 7000 BBY when the Tong clans united under a leader named Mandalore. Mandalore led the Tongs to a jungle world teeming with life, dominated by town-sized, non-sentient mythosaurs. The Tongs wiped out the mythosaurs and claimed the planet for their own, naming it Mandalore after their leader. They became the first of the Mandalorians. Under Mandalore I, Tong society was reshaped into what we know today as Mandalorian society, a culture built around war and conquest. Over the next few thousand years, Mandalorian culture slowly drifted away from its Tong origins. The war gods that originally inspired Mandalorian ideology were forgotten, the nomadic ways of the past were largely abandoned, and the Tongs themselves went extinct. Before the Tongs faded away, they opened the ranks of the Mandalorians up to all species shortly before the Mandalorian Wars, and within a few generations, the ranks of the Mandalorians were, ironically enough, overwhelmingly human. Through all of this, however, the tradition of the Mandalorian clans persisted. Most of the old Tong clans were lost to time with the Tong species, but new clans rose to take their place. Many of those that were around during the movie era had their roots in the Mandalorian Wars and were descended from some of the first human Mandalorians. Most of the clans we know about fall into this category, including many of the 9 major ones we're going to discuss today. Let's get right into the heart of the matter and, in no particular order, discuss the most important clans. Let's start with a clan most of you are familiar with, Clan Vizsla. This particularly violent clan was one of the modern Mandalorians' most ancient, dating back to the Mandalorian Wars. Its most well-known members were Tor Vizsla and Pre Vizsla, the leaders of the Death Watch, but it was also the home clan of Shae Vizsla, a bounty hunter who became Mandalore the Avenger during the Galactic Wars. Clan Vizsla was brutal, even for Mandalorians, and in particular had a vendetta against the Jedi. During the Wars of the Old Republic, it was Clan Vizsla that stole the Darksaber from the Jedi Temple, and their hatred of the Jedi never wavered since. During the Mandalorian Civil War, this clan founded the Death Watch, which adopted Clan Vizsla's house symbol as its own. Clan Vizsla dominated the Death Watch, though, to its shame, it had members in the pacifist New Mandalorian camp as well. Another of the more brutal clans was Clan Priest, the home of aggressive clone commando trainer Dread Priest. After the end of the Clone Wars, this clan was allied with Clan Gedike, among the members of which was Lorca Gedike, the leader of a Death Watch splinter group. Both Clan Priest and Clan Gedike had strong Death Watch sympathies and seemed to have been a bit younger than the likes of Clan Vizsla. Another of the younger clans, Clan Kryze, was instead dominated by members of the new Mandalorian sect, such as Duchess Satine Kryze, though many of the members of the clan were instead fierce members of the true Mandalorians or the Death Watch, including Bo-Katan Kryze. Clan Awad was another ancient clan dating back to over 1,000 years before the Clone Wars. One of the largest Mandalorian clans, Clan Awad, was nearly wiped out by the Kandorian plague in 1058 BBY during the Dark Age of the Republic. Nonetheless, one of its few survivors ended up becoming Mandalore, taking the name Mandalore the Uniter. He and the few remaining members of Clan Awad started a movement called the Return, which united the many scattered Mandalorian clans and brought them home to Mandalore. Hundreds of years later, Clan Awad was again thriving when the Mandalorian Civil War broke out. Its members' loyalties were divided, but the bulk of the clan chose to break from Mandalorian society instead of fight. They served as mercenaries for the CIS and the Hutts during the Clone Wars. Some of the ancient Mandalorian clans were long dead by the time of the Clone Wars, but had legacies that influenced modern Mandalorian society. Clan Keldau was one of the original Mandalorian clans, dating back to the Tong's Great Shadow Crusade, and likely died out during the Mandalorian Wars. Its legacy persisted even to the Galactic Civil War, however. Clan Keldau's symbol, the Mythosaur skull, was later adopted as the symbol of all Mandalorians. One of the most enduring Mandalorian clans was Clan Bralor. Clan Bralor was one of the leading clans during the Mandalorian Wars, and its members took prominent places in Mandalorian society for thousands of years afterward. During the Dark Wars, a member of this clan was one of Mandalore the Preserver's chief lieutenants, and clan member Jogo Bralor was a leading Mandalorian centuries later during the Galactic Wars. Rev Bralor, a leading member of this clan, was one of the Mandalorians selected to train the clone commandos. Years later, during the Second Galactic Civil War, Clan Bralor was still a powerhouse with many key Mandalorian leaders belonging to it. Perhaps the most important clan in Mandalorian history, Clan Ordo ruled over the desert planet Ordo in Mandalorian space and had a longer history than even Clan Bralor. Like Clan Bralor, it was one of the most powerful human clans during the Mandalorian Wars, but it only came to prominence after the war's end. A member of Clan Ordo, Kandosii Ordo, was a close ally with Revan and became the first Mandalore since Malachor V, with Revan's blessing. Taking the title Mandalore the Preserver, he rallied the Mandalorian clans on Duxon, rebuilding the might of the Mandalorians. Clan Ordo led this effort and would be the core faction in Mandalorian society for millennia to come. Even after Mandalore the Preserver's death, Clan Ordo remained fiercely opposed to the Sith and was more friendly to the Republic and the Jedi than most Mandalorian clans. It, like many other clans, was fiercely divided during the Mandalorian Civil War, but it survived the conflict and remained relatively powerful. Over 100 years later, during the Legacy era, a member of Clan Ordo served as Mandalore, showing that the clan was still powerful after millennia in the spotlight. Lastly, we have the clan you've all been waiting for, Clan Fett. One of the most infamous Mandalorian clans, Clan Fett, alongside Clan Bralor and Clan Ordo, was one of the earliest human Mandalorian clans. During the Mandalorian Wars, its leader, Cassius Fett, was the right hand of Mandalore himself, the highest ranked human in Mandalorian society. Cassius was an unforgiving general responsible for some of the Republic's worst defeats, and his infamy all but ensured that Clan Fett would be powerful for years to come. For centuries after his death, the Fetts were renowned for their ruthlessness and effectiveness, but the strength of the clan slowly faded. By the time of the Mandalorian Civil War, Clan Fett had actually become rather insignificant until the rise of Jango Fett. Jango and his son Boba revived Clan Fett and Mandalorian society as a whole, granting the clan a powerful place in the Mandalorian hierarchy. Now to answer our final question, which of these clans was the most feared? There are many good candidates, chief among them being Clan Vizsla, Clan Ordo, and Clan Fett. The brutality and war frenzy of Clan Vizsla was unrivaled, while Clan Fett was known for its ruthlessness and effectiveness. But we're gonna have to give the top spot to Clan Ordo. Clan Ordo wasn't as violent or bloodthirsty as some of the other clans, but they were undeniably a force to be reckoned with, perhaps because they weren't as brutal. Clan Ordo burned down planets, resurrected the Mandalorians, and wasn't afraid to face down some of the most terrifying Sith Lords in galactic history. During the Dark Wars, these guys had the Beskar balls to not only stand against Darth Nihilus, but to actually board the Sith Lord's ship and blow the whole thing up. At various times, they were the pawns of the Sith, the saviors of the Republic, and the leaders of the Mandalorians. But no matter what state the clan was in, they were feared, and rightfully so. So that's our look at the most important of the Mandalorian clans. But what do you think? Would you like to hear more about any of the Mandalorians we mentioned today? Let us know all that and more in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.